joining us for the 7th episode on the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion series, an 8-part live webinar event that will share the experiences and recommendations of female leaders in the Fire and Emergency Management Service. The EDI Celebration Series is a program of the Canadian Association of Fire Chiefs in collaboration with Firefighting in Canada and through a generous grant from the Motorola Solutions Foundation. My name is Caitlin Secord, Associate Editor of Firefighting in Canada, and today we are joined by Cynthia Ross-Tustin, a recently retired fire chief from Essa Township and former president of the Ontario Association of Fire Chiefs. Cynthia will be sharing their career experiences and recommendations for increasing equity, diversity, and inclusion in the fire service. If you have any questions during the webinar, you can type them into the chat box on your screen at any time, and we will address them during the question period after the interview. With that, I'd like to start by asking you, Cynthia, why did you choose to pursue this career path?
Well, thank you, Caitlin. I appreciate being here and the invitation. I chose a path in the fire service. Part of it was by accident, and part of it was by design. I never set out to be in the fire service. I'm an ICU trauma unit nurse by trade, but it really looked like a great job. And in my community in Hillsburg, way back when in the 80s, we had a lot of calls that were medical in nature. And I thought, being an ICU trauma unit nurse, I could help. And I wanted to help. And I grew up watching Johnny and Roy, so I thought that looks pretty cool. Mm-hmm. So that's how I got interested in it. I knew there was a need for the help that I would be able to give. And I always thought, driving lights and sirens, 100 miles an hour down the road with your hair on fire might be fun.
It does sound like fun when you put it that way. How would you characterize your experience as a woman in the fire service?
I would consider it or categorize it. A lot of women in the fire service put up with a lot of crap, especially early on, many years ago, not so much now. And if you've never worked in other industries, you think you're only being disrespected or given difficulties because you're a woman in the fire service. Having worked in nursing and a couple of other fields, there is sexual harassment and sexual discrimination everywhere for women. It's not unique to the fire service. And so I had that mindset going in, and I had some skills to handle that up from the beginning. But yeah, it's rampant everywhere, and it's less and less over time, and I'm grateful for that. But it clearly goes on in every industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's very unfortunate. You mentioned that you had some techniques or some ideas on how to overcome those hurdles. Can you be a little bit more specific about that? Like the things that helped you overcome them?
Right. Well, first of all, sometimes you have to recognize that people don't want you there, but you just don't know why. They don't even know why sometimes. It's just because you're different. Mm-hmm. And people don't like change. So you first have to, if you're the first woman in the group, that's a change to the way they do things. And they often think it's going to change the way they have to act at work. I might not be able to swear anymore. I might have to deal with feminine hygiene products in the one and only bathroom, things like that they never anticipated. Mm-hmm. Other people don't want you there because they think you're lesser, smaller, not as strong, or not as capable. And early on, when I had people who believed that I couldn't do something, instead of going to just my training officer, I went to every single naysayer on the department, and I had each and every one of them teach me something. So that when one other guy stood up and said, well, she can't do that, she's too small, or she's too this or this, I didn't have to fight my own battle. The guy that taught me spoke up and said, hey, what are you talking about? I taught her how to do that. I know what I'm doing. Now she knows what she's doing. Mm-hmm. So little by little, that worked for me. I had every single person invest a little bit of their time in me so that as a collective, they couldn't naysay.
Yeah, I think it's kind of taking advantage of that male dominance in the trade and using it to your advantage, like you said. And
Yep.
I think that's a really great way to, and just in general,
Right.
gain people's respect, is to show interest and to be engaged and to want their help,
Right.
almost in a way.
And I legitimately did. Like, I
Yeah.
legitimately wanted to succeed. And
Mhm.
all of those people who took the time to teach me something legitimately helped me succeed in my career over time.
Yeah, which is wonderful. So next question is, how would you characterize your experience as a leader in the fire service?
Well, sometimes the trick to leading is not letting people know you're leading. And there are a lot of women in the fire service, and there's lots of great books out there about leading from the back or leading from the middle of the pack. So you have an opportunity to lead and be a leader from whatever position you hold in the fire service. It doesn't have to be that of a chief or a chief officer. You could be, the sober second thought on your crew, or you could be the person who has the best skill set at a particular thing.
Mhm.
There's lots of ways to lead, um, but leading as a woman in the fire service is often lonely because there's not too many. I was the first full-time female fire chief in the province of Ontario, so until very recently, like, there wasn't even enough for us to have a foursome for golf.
Oh my gosh.
Right. So virtually all of my peers are men.
Mhm.
Now we're getting to have some really fabulous women in starting to be senior management roles. Debbie Higgins has been in the deputy fire chief in Toronto for quite some time. She's an outstanding leader. There are lots of great women. Karen Roach in Burlington. They're getting to be many great. So it's not so lonely, but you have to find yourself a group of peers to help be the leader, because you can't be best friends with the staff. You can get along with staff, you
Mhm.
can build a rapport with staff, you can lead staff, but you can't say, hey, let's go shopping with staff, or let's all go for come to my house for a barbecue.
Mhm.
So leading for anybody in the fire service, leadership is lonely. And if a woman in the fire service, there's just not a large peer group. You have to build yourself a very, very trusted peer group, and it tends to be with men.
Yeah. What was the reaction when you did become fire chief? Do you remember kind of how everybody took that?
People took it very well. Some places took it better than others. When I became the chief in ESSA, everybody was great. I got to say that I didn't have any issues with people, because a lot of the work had been done. I've been in the fire service 35 years
Mhm.
this year, right? I just retired the end of July. I'm grateful to have been in it long enough for a woman to
Yeah.
actually retire at the top.
Yeah.
But the guys were great, the staff was great, lots of support. And when you get to the top, um, it's not about going out there and being able to put wet stuff on red stuff.
Mhm.
It's being able to understand the needs of the people that do that part of the job. And I believe by that point in time, I had enough respect for people for doing my job at a managerial level, that they got the equipment they needed, they got the things. So there was a lot of respect up front. They were great.
Yeah, that's wonderful to hear. What are three recommendations to fire departments seeking to create a more diverse, inclusive, and equitable workforce that you would recommend?
Well, stop aiming at high school and start looking at public schools, because people's foundations are formed. Um, and it depends on what you want people to do. So if you want to, first of all, start your recruitment, maybe is the
Mhm.
word, or your marketing,
Mhm.
start much earlier and make sure it's seen as a career and a welcome environment for everybody. And the fire department does a really good job at public education with the youth, like Firefighters Your Friends,
Mhm.
Stop, Drop, and Roll, all of those types of programs. But public school is also the good spot to say, to show a male and a female firefighter together.
Mhm.
And you too could join, so that you don't have to change a mindset that it's a career for women. You need to start from the beginning that it's a career that anyone can have. It's not about changing the minds of adults or people who already have the mindset. It's about creating a mindset where nobody ever has to change it.
Yeah.
Right.
I
So
think
that's
a really, really great point.
so that's
Because
sorry. So that's
ahead.
one.
Yeah.
That's one. When you go into your community, especially in the volunteers, because in
Mhm.
Ontario, 2/3 of the fire departments are volunteer. Uh, there are other ways to involve people, but let them see the whole side of the department, not just one little piece. And the other thing I think that's important when you're doing that and showing them about that to draw people in, you need to be honest with everybody, regardless of what diversity issue you're trying to attract. You need to let people know what they're getting into, the impact it's going to have on their family, the impact it's going to have on their social life, the impact it's going to have on their available time to do the things that they normally do. And if they don't have the time, women tend to run the household and do the bulk of the childcare. That's why we get more dads than moms applying for volunteer positions.
Mhm.
And, so that there are people who legitimately look at their time. And I don't know if I have a third recommendation. I think it's really just about making sure that everybody knows that it's a great career.
Mhm.
And it is, you don't have to be a man to want to, it isn't just men that find lights and sirens and driving fast and saving lives exciting. And it isn't just men who want to do really cool stuff. Women want that stuff too. So if we get the mindset that everybody appreciates the adrenaline, everybody appreciates the unique nature of the tasks we do every day. It's not the same thing day after day. It's something new every hour. And we need to understand that everybody wants a good, solid, paying job, not just men. And if we women could get rid of some of those things, because it's not just men who have these attitudes.
Yeah.
I honestly experienced as much harassment, might not be the right word, but certainly people who didn't want me there. There was a lot of women who did not like the idea of me being at the fire hall or, participating in any of that. As women, we are frequently our own worst enemy.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. And it goes kind of along with, instead of trying to reteach people that things can be inclusive and diverse, it's teaching them initially. So starting off with those younger age groups of, it's great to work together with a group of women. It's great to work together with anybody. And this is a space for everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
There's more than enough work to go around.
Yes, absolutely. What are your top 3 recommendations for those seeking leadership positions in the fire service?
Well, first of all, you have to remember to be a leader in the fire service. You have to know your job and your craft. So you need to be good at that and understand the department as well. You don't have to be good at everything. You have to understand everything. And you need to understand that prevention and communications and training, when it comes to running a department, are equal to suppression. So you need to understand all facets equally. But then you have to remember you're just one of many, many departments that a municipality owns. So you need to understand you're just a cog in the municipal wheel. So you need to have a serious understanding of municipal politics, how municipal government works, and municipal finance. Because if you think you've just taken, just leadership courses in fire service leadership and how to run a crew and how to make sure the fire trucks are ready, you aren't even scratching the surface of what you need to know as a fire chief.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point of, it takes more than just the desire to do it. It takes the training and the skill and
right. And
And
you need to step outside your comfort zone
Mhm.
of the normal skills that are, or the normal courses that are generally offered within the fire service, because they are at an operational level. And you have to start looking things like at university and college courses that have nothing to do with fire,
Mhm.
writing, finance, looking at Humber College. Humber College has a great program. And there's a reason that that great fire service leadership program is connected to the next step at the University of Guelph,
Mhm.
right? You need to build on things that have more to do than nozzles and hoses.
Yeah, then being able to put out the fire, it's managing the people who put them out, like you said earlier.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you very much for sharing your insight, experiences, and recommendations with us today. It's been a pleasure hearing from you. It's time to take questions from the audience.
Did you
So
have any?
let's take a look.
I
Okay,
don't see any questions, but that's okay.
okay. Well, here's one.
Oh.
If you could give yourself, your younger self, any advice at the start of your career, what would it be?
What would it be? Uh, you need to be in really great shape. And I was in good shape, but I needed to have been in better shape. So if you think you want to be a firefighter when you're finished high school and you're 16, start getting in shape now. If
Okay.
you think you need to get a skill set, don't wait till you're on the fire department to get it. Now, I'm not talking about running out and spending a lot of money taking, a water rescue course when you're not even on. That's not the kind of stuff that I'm talking about life skills.
Yeah,
Make sure you have those things dialed in.
okay. That's great to know. And one last one. What character trait helped you the most in your career?
Probably a sense of humor and a thick skin. That's one thing you have in nursing early on is
Mhm.
you develop rhino hide, because a lot of people don't like you when you're coming at them with needles and catheters, but it has to be done. So you develop a pretty thick skin and a pretty good sense of humor.
Yeah, I think that goes for just life in general. It's a good thing to have.
Correct. I think so too.
Well, thank you very much again for your time today, Cynthia. It was a pleasure to talk to you. And thank you to our attendees for their time today. This webinar has been recorded and will be emailed to those who registered within 24 hours. We hope you enjoyed this session and have a great day.
Thanks, Caitlin. Bye.
Bye. See you later.